I'm super excited to talk with you.
Thank
So
you.
go ahead and just give us an introduction of like who you are, what you do.
My name's Rebecca Joe. It's so funny because I didn't introduce myself as Rebecca Joe for such a long time or even use my real name. It was just like Rebecca, but I'm Rebecca Joe. I'm the longest, most hyphenated name ever because I'm married. And when I got married, I couldn't decide what to do with my name. So my full name's Rebecca Joe Dunham Barishal. Longest name ever. Yeah, I don't know what I am. I think I'm a fashion creative. I'm just someone who loves fashion, who loves art, who loves the creative process, who loves creativity, and someone who just kind of exists within that world, maybe.
Yeah, so how did you first get started into fashion?
So I've always loved fashion from a very, very young age. My mom has always been a fashion killer and a lover of fashion as well. She's always had great personal style that has really inspired me. It's so funny because when I was a kid, I thought she had the most perfect fashion sense ever. Now, obviously, we are very like, I'm like, really, you want those? Like, why not this, but I'm sure she feels the same way. I mean, I know she does. She's always like, really, you're going to dye your hair blue? Like, are you sure?
Yeah.
So we've digressed a little bit, but I still think she's a fashion killer. And especially because I feel like women in her age category are supposed to just stop being fashionable, especially in North America. It's kind of different in Europe, I think. But in North America, women of certain ages are supposed to just stop. Right, we're supposed to stop being fashionable, and it's almost seen as like childlike to care about how you dress, how you look, and put stock in fashion. And my mom is not one of those people who just like gave up and was like, no. She was like, this is who I am. And I really, really respect that. So that's always been a big inspiration for me. Her mother as well was a huge fashion killer. She always looked impeccable. My dad's mom was a fashion killer in a different way. She was really into vintage and antiques and had her own antique store, and she loved jewelry. So I can buy like my obsession with jewelry very, very honestly, especially costume jewelry. So I've always been into fashion. In high school, I was probably the most insufferable person ever. I did not grow up in a city. I grew up in a small town, and I went to high school, or small towns, I should say. I went to high school in, it's not a small town, but it's not a city either. And I was definitely the most insufferable person at school. I had a phase where half of my hair was dyed blonde, half of it was dyed black, and I would tease it. I was super inspired by like Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie and Mean Girls. I would wear mini skirts and kitten heels to school and like had a purse. I
Okay.
was really lucky because I went to a high school that had a course that was like fashion. Um, and so we had a sewing class where you could learn to sew, but you would also learn how to make patterns and do all this really cool stuff. And so I did that for most of high school. My teacher actually even created an extra course for me and my high school best friend Robert, where we were basically what would like a teacher's assistants essentially, where we would help her and like mentor her class and get a credit for that because both of us wanted to go to fashion school. And so part of it was like me building my portfolio and wanting to apply to fashion school. And then when I came down to it, I didn't apply to fashion school at all. I didn't go to fashion school. I ended up going to a very, very academic school in Canada, which I hated. Definitely the wrong decision, but I realized very quickly, like, I hate sewing. And it would be 4 years of sewing almost every single day, which I was like, can I do another 4 years of this after having done 4 years of it in high school? And then I was also realized how expensive going to fashion school is because it's not just your tuition and your books that you have to pay for. You also have to find a way to pay for all your materials. And I was paying for my own school and my own rent and all of that. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. So it made fashion school way less attainable for me. Looking back, I wish I had been maybe done something in the creative field but it's okay. When I was at university, I started trying to find creative outlets. I was super, super unhappy. I did go to University of Toronto, so I was at least downtown finally, which was amazing because I was finally getting introduced to more creative people and seeing a creative community in a way that I had never seen before. And I just was like, I've got to do something. I am so unhappy and so unfulfilled here. And it just kind of happened that someone messaged me one day and was like, "Hey, do you know anyone who models? Like, I'm a new photographer. I'm looking for people to shoot with." And I was like, "Oh, what about me?" Um, and they were like, "Yeah, I would love to shoot with you." So I did a photo shoot in high school. I like dabbled in modeling, but I had a single mom, so there wasn't someone to like drive me to castings. And I, definitely having half blonde hair and half black hair, my agency was like, "Girl, no, come back when you're ready to look like a model." So I
Especially
took
like
a break.
back then.
Yeah. And then in university, I went to like a very conservative sort of school as well. So I definitely didn't have half blonde, half black hair. Um, and yeah, I just started modeling and finding a creative community. And I had so much more fun being part of that community and participating in that community. And I would style myself a lot of the times too. Because when you first start out modeling, there's not necessarily people who like are like, yeah, let me work for free. Right. But I was like, let me work for free. This is the best part of my week. Like, I'll do anything. So I was really lucky. And, uh, I ended up going to Europe for a study abroad term. It was like, I told my parents I was going to drop out. And they were like, absolutely not. So I was like, okay, fine. How about I go to Europe and study abroad? Because my older brother had already gone. And they were like, okay, fine, go to the same city. So I went to the University of Oslo and I got signed with an agency right away when I moved there. I did the trope of dating a photographer, built my whole portfolio, walked in my first fashion week, and then the rest is kind of history. I modeled all over Asia for a really long time, which is how I got the Instagram name Youth in Asia. I started my Instagram when I was modeling and living full time in Asia, and I lived there for years and years and years. And
Wow.
I
Where did you
started
live?
in, I lived, oh, okay. So I would do 3 month contracts most of the time. So my first one was in Beijing, which was so fun. I had the best. It's still like hands down one of the best modeling trips I went on because my friendship group that I made there was so strong. And I'm still friends with some of those people to this day. Like one of my best friends ever, Pola, I met her in Beijing. She was in my wedding. I was at her. Like, we're
Oh,
very close still. We talk all the time.
yeah.
So I made some of my closest friends, my friend Meredith also on that trip. And it was just so good. I loved it. And I was like, oh, wait, I can live full time in Asia, make a full time earning being a model and like get to see the world. Like, yeah, sign me up. So
Yeah.
from then I lived in Shanghai. Shanghai kind of quickly became my base in Asia because I met my first, like, my next very serious boyfriend in Shanghai. He was an American working as an architect there.
Mm.
So he was kind of, oh, sorry, I met him in Beijing and then he kind of got based in Shanghai. And so I would
Mm.
go back and forth. But I did
Okay.
Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta twice, Bangkok, all over China. So I did Hong Kong, Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, Hangzhou, but I've been all over because the way that it would work also is they would send you to other cities for jobs, for fashion
Hmm.
shows or catalogs or whatever you were shooting. So I really got to travel a huge amount of China, which was,
That's amazing.
yeah, it was life changing. I love China.
What year was this?
Oh my God, I'm so bad with numbers, but for reference, I'm 36 now, and I
Okay.
think I moved to Asia when I was like 21 full time, I
Okay.
think, but my years could be a little bit off.
Yeah, no, I'm time blind too. Like
Yeah, it's like I
it's
don't
like
know,
so like maybe you're like early 20s or something like
early
that.
20s for sure
Okay.
is accurate. I
Okay.
also modeled in Milan, Mexico City. I did New York a little bit, but did not love it. Not the city, just modeling there. Um,
Why
yeah.
do you think you had more success like in Asia versus like New York?
Well, for one, I'm not 5'10", and so I
Mm-hmm.
think in New York, I was never marketed as a commercial girl.
Mm-hmm.
So the more fashion girls, you tend to have to be like taller, thinner, especially around the time when I was modeling. It's not the same as it is today, where, like Kate Moss was short, but Kate Moss was not normal. Like nobody else was Kate Moss's short stature and still did runway. No one, right? Like
Yeah.
Nepo babies weren't models yet either. So it was like a very different game when I started. And
Mm-hmm.
because I was not 5'10", it was really hard to market me in North America because it was like she's fashion, she's high fashion, but she's not tall enough to do runways in New York. And so it was really frustrating because I would get requests and options from really big designers, and they're like, "We love her for the runway, but like she would be the only girl who wasn't 5'10", and it will look so off."
Yeah.
So it was really hard to get people to like give me that chance. Whereas in Asia, they didn't care as much about the height.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, they were like, "Yeah." I opened Shanghai Fashion Week shows, and I was like, I'm not 5'10". Like I'm like just under 5'9". So they would always lie and say I was 5'9". But yeah, I did so many fashion shows there. And in Mexico City, I did booked so many fashion shows at their fashion week. Like I killed it. And
Yeah.
they were like, that's fine. But in New York, it was like, even Milan, I had such a hard time. They had me in the show package, and designers were like, we love her, but we're not having one girl who's not 5'10". And I was like, please.
You're like, put me in really high shoes.
I was like, I can do it. Put me in.
Yeah.
Like, have me in, coach. But they were like, no. So, which is fine. I'm really happy with the career I had, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
really proud of the career I had. I think that like at the time, also though there was I don't know if it's still like this, but at the time, if you came to like Milan or New York and you had a book from Asia, didn't matter if you had like the cover of Vogue Asia, they like dismissed it as like this isn't real fashion. And it was very like cringe that they were like,
Strange.
oh no, like modeling in Asia, people saw it as like below what they were doing. And I was like, you're so wrong for that, because there's so
Yeah.
many cool creatives. Unless I think Japan was slightly different, but either way, they were so wrong for that. There's so many cool editorials and models and photographers coming out of Asia, and they were just behind on it.
Yeah. No, I could see, like, I remember, like, back then, like, hearing that it was like, I think it was like some America's Next Top Model thing or something, but it was like one of their winners did like really well in like the like Asian modeling market essentially and like killed it, but then like wasn't able to like translate that success like to like New York or like Europe or something. And I remember being like, oh, that's really strange that because the stuff she was doing over there was like insane,
Incredible.
you
Yeah.
know?
You
Yeah.
do big stuff over there. Like I shot Vogue in China. And then
Mhm.
when I came back here, they're like, we're not putting that in your book. And I was like,
You're like, it's
why?
a cover in Vogue.
Yeah, I was like, why though? Why are we not putting that in my book? And it was interesting too, because like at the time, social media didn't like it existed, but not in the way that it exists now, right?
Yeah.
So like even like searching those things, like you wouldn't Google search it. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't the same, so it was different. It didn't matter so much in the same way that now I think it would translate better. So, but yeah,
No,
like
for
I'm
sure.
not mad about it. It got me started in my fashion career and opened my world in a way that it never would have been opened. Like
Mhm.
going to China wasn't something anyone in my family was doing. Like
Yeah.
going to Asia was like just something people didn't do. It was so
Yeah.
expensive and too like I don't want to say too foreign, but like too foreign in a way where it's like you couldn't just Google stuff. You didn't have a
Yeah.
smartphone where you could translate things like you do now. So it
Yeah.
felt so insurmountable because of all of the barriers, right? Like, how do I
Yeah.
get around? I don't speak any Mandarin or I don't speak any Cantonese. Like, how do you get around? You would have to, how do I hire an interpreter or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That stuff was like insurmountable when I was in my early 20s. And so to be able to go and like be able to do things like walk on the Great Wall and stuff was life changing for me. And also working with creatives in Asia was life changing for me because I was like, wait, growing up in a small town, I didn't know a single person who had a creative job. Having a
Mhm.
creative job that didn't exist. Nobody has creative jobs because you can't have a life doing creative jobs. But for the first time, I was able to see people who had creative jobs and lived real lives, like worked
Yeah.
full time. And that was just not something I had ever seen before. In Toronto, of course, I saw photographers and people and stylists who were like hustling to
Hmm.
do that full time, And so I was like, okay, you can kind of do it maybe. But in Asia, I was like, oh, in Milan and New York, I was like, wait, people can actually do this.
Yeah, and I think that's something like to note, because like early, I don't even know if you can say this early 2000s, but like the aughts, like 2010, 11, 12, even up to like 2015 and like prior to COVID. I mean, I remember if I wanted to go somewhere in like 2000, maybe like 8 or 9, like I would have to map quest and like print out something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and so it's like if you like the idea of like you going to like Asia, like your people in your town are probably like, I wouldn't even know what to do. Like, like it wasn't like now where you can like Google cool restaurants in like Shanghai or whatever and
And
like
use
plan
Google
a whole trip and
Translate
go.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that was
It's
the
like
thing.
completely different, like dropping you off. But it sounds like so romantic though. Like it sounds like literally like a model dream. Like, and I wonder, I'm curious if it even really exists anymore. Like being like, oh, I just got like carried away to like this new place and land and met all these amazing people. Like it literally sounds like a dream, Like so
Yeah,
nice.
it could be a dream or it could be a nightmare. There were so many occasions where I was like, this is a situation that my mom would tell me not to do.
Oh, okay.
Like for example, I had conversations with my agent who sent me to Asia for
Hmm.
many calls and stuff for her to explain how it works there, right? So how it
Yeah.
worked with my agency in Beijing, signed a contract, bought the tickets, brought me to Asia. I lived in a model apartment and
Mhm.
model bookers who could mostly speak English. And then there was like a van that would drive us to our castings. If I had to take a taxi, I would have like a paper that had the address on it that I could just give to the driver and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
But that also still didn't always work out because and they would give us SIM cards to put in our unlocked like Nokias, because
Yeah.
like smartphones in the way that smartphones exist today did not exist. iPhones didn't exist when I first went to China. They weren't
Yeah.
doing it. So there was a lot of situations where I was like, I'm just getting in a van with a stranger who doesn't speak English in a
Yeah.
country that I have no reference point. Like when I landed in the airport in Beijing, there was a man with a sign with my name on it,
Mhm.
and he spoke not a single word of English, and I just had to follow this man. Like, and I didn't have a SIM card yet,
Yeah.
like a cell phone. I didn't have a smartphone where I could just like email my mom and be like, "Here, safe," And China also, a lot of websites are blocked. Like Facebook was blocked and still is blocked in China. So even when I got first to Beijing, I was like, wait, how do I gotta, like, what do I do? So luckily the models in my model apartment were super nice and they're like, you need a VPN blocker. Let me
Oh
show
my
you how to
gosh.
do that.
I love.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, what?
Oh, that's like totally why you have like that like bond, because it's kind of like a different thing. Like you're living in a model house, you're in a different country. Like you literally have to rely on like the people around you because it's like just so different, and it's just so like it's just so not like what it is now.
No, like you
Yeah.
couldn't, like, I remember at the time there was a couple models who had really big blogs.
Mhm.
And I would
Mhm.
read their blogs because I was just like, what is this experience like? Like I forget their names. One of them I think was actually Canadian and she was modeling mostly in Tokyo. And I would read her blog and just be like, okay, that's her experience is similar to my experience and we're not that far away
Oh,
from each other. Like we're both in Asia. So
yeah.
yeah, but no, there was no like, let me just post on Instagram. Let me just see what my friends are up to. Let me keep in
Yeah.
constant
Let me
connection.
FaceTime my mom, like, because I miss her.
I
It's
would have
like,
to
yeah.
Skype them. Yeah, and I would like be coming home from a party or like a club at night and like Skype them, and they were like, it was the one
Sky.
time I could like Skype with them because of the time zone difference too.
Oh my
But I
gosh.
couldn't text my mom. I would have eaten all of my cell phone minutes. Like,
Yeah. Oh my God. And that was before texting was even like unlimited. Like you
uh-huh.
had to pay. Oh my God. The struggles of like doing anything, getting directions or like listening to music or
Yeah,
like texting someone. Like it was just like so much more difficult.
so hard, so hard. I didn't even have internet on the cell phone I had in Asia. So
Yeah.
like I had an iPod, so I had music on my
Oh yeah.
iPod, thank God. 'Cause
Mhm.
we would sit
Yeah.
for hours in our model van. Like hours. Like, they would pick you up at like 9 and you might have castings till 5. So and
Yes. You're
Shanghai
just like
is a
there.
huge city, so your castings might be like all over.
And they just like managed that all for you and just like kind of sent you out. Okay. So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I know in like some places it's different. Like you kind of have to manage it yourself in Asia. Like I think Japan, I never got to Japan for modeling, but like I think that you manage your schedule more like yourself. Like in Milan, they'd be like, here's all the castings for the day. And then you would like manage it. You're like, okay, well these ones are close by and like this one's from 2 to 5 and this one's from 3 to 5. So if I hit this one first, then I can like get there by this time, but I have to make it there by 2 if I want. Like you could do it yourself.
You just started doing the modeling and then did that like change, like what happened, and then like what's the time frame between that and like your social media now?
Okay, so I did modeling for a very, very long time. I took a break around the age of like 27 because my body had started changing, and my agencies were like, "You're fat," and I was like, "Right." Like my body's literally like an inch bigger in some
Yeah.
places, and they were like, "You needed to get it back down." And so I took a break. I bought a house with my modeling money with one of my brothers, and I started trying other things. But like that sort of that's like a boring period. And then I met my husband, and he lives in Toronto. He's from Montreal, but he lives in Toronto. I was spending time in LA. We met on Raya, which is like so funny. But I was in LA because my best friend was living there, so I would spend a lot of time back and forth, and I was trying to figure out like, where do I want to live? Do I want to live in Toronto? Do I want to try to live in LA? Like, do I want to go back to Mexico City? I don't
Mhm.
know. So I was trying to figure that out, and then I met him, and um, obviously we got together and like ended up moving in together and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm living in Toronto now, which was not on like my life bingo card. I did not really think I would end up living in Canada. I thought that I would just like meet someone abroad somewhere and then be like, okay, well that's where I live now, because
Yeah.
I really I love Canada very, very much. I'm very proud of being Canadian, but I never have felt that I really fit in here.
Mm.
And I never really felt like appreciated here. Um,
Interesting.
for whatever
Also,
reasons. And maybe it's my own projecting that, I don't know. So
mhm.
I never really thought I would live here. And then I met him and I decided to like do some modeling again. I got agents here, like in Montreal and in Toronto, and was working, and they were really pushing hard for me to be a commercial model because they were like, at your age, you're not young enough to be a fashion girl anymore. Like, they're not going to book
Mm.
you over like a 17-year-old new face fashion girl. So we need to like make you commercial. And I was like, okay, I've
Mm.
never done that. Let's try it, you know?
Mhm.
So I got brown hair and then I got blonde hair because they were like, wait, let blonde. Like they were just trying all these different things to make me commercial. And I did okay. Like it wasn't my most successful in my modeling career I've ever been. Like the market here is like very commercial in general. And so like you literally do TV commercials. I did a Walmart TV commercial. I did a beer TV commercial. Like
Mhm.
it was so weird. I was always the girl in the band. And I was like, tell me you still think I'm too edgy to be commercial without saying I'm too edgy looking to be commercial. Just continuously
Yeah.
cast me as the girl in a band.
Yeah, it's like something they can't wash off, you know? Like no matter how much they like try to like, oh, let's make her blonde. No, brunette. It's like there's still something there that's like
Yeah,
they know.
so they were like, we like her.
Yeah.
as a girl in a band. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, 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 chill, chill, chill.
Yeah.
And I would like come home from work and just be like, I'm so deeply unfulfilled. Like
Yeah.
I'm so unhappy. You know, some of the sets I was like, this is fun, this is fun. But I remember coming home from a TV commercial for Walmart, and I was a girl in a band. And I was like, that was like the worst day ever. That was the worst day ever. It was a
Yeah.
super long day because TV commercials are like that, where like you have to be there because they don't know. Maybe we'll change the shoot order
Mm-hmm.
around. But like we think you're going to shoot at 8 p.m., but maybe we'll shoot you at noon. Who knows? So you
Yeah.
just sit there all day in your hair and makeup, in your wardrobe, just
Mm-hmm.
waiting. And your rate doesn't change because it's a base rate and like a usage rate. And I remember one of those days where I got there at like noon and we didn't shoot. I wasn't shot in anything until 10 p.m. And I was just like, if I was like passionate about this and I was like, I want to be an actress or whatever, right? Like, I think I would be here being like, yeah, this is great. Like, I'm soaking it all in. I'm meeting other people. But I was like, I don't. Like, I'm literally genuinely so unhappy. Like, I hate this. And I got home and I was like, I just don't like doing this. Like, I'm so unhappy. But I was like, I don't know what else to do. I was working as a modeling agent at the time too, which I liked doing, but I didn't love it. And there was like things that I was like rubbing up against very early on in that career too that didn't like align with my values
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And so then the pandemic hit and my modeling agent job gone
Okay.
because I was sending models abroad.
Okay.
So no one is leaving their countries. No one, I had already brought everyone home. A lot of the girls were in Asia. So very early on, like before here, we were panicked. They were panicked there
Yeah.
because it started there and they knew shit was happening. And it was actually so funny because I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Like my girls are all like, we need to leave. It's really scary here. And I was like, okay, like get them home. So everyone was home. And I was like, I wonder if that's going to come here. And then it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's here. Yeah, I was still modeling, still doing that, but like then the pandemic hit, there's no modeling jobs. We're not going on set. Nobody's going on set. The only people who are like maybe booking stuff are girls who can shoot stuff at home.
Yeah.
Like they have a photo studio set up at home. Or like their boyfriend's a photographer and they live in the studio, whatever. Or they're the
Yeah.
photographer, whatever. And I was like, oh, I should probably like learn how to like shoot stuff at home
Yeah.
because like we don't know when this is going to end. I have my income just evaporated.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm bored. Like I'm so bored.
Yeah.
So I just started like shooting stuff on my iPhone, taking my own photos, like, um, and I was still very much stylistically trying to be what my agent wanted me to be, which was like this commercial pretty girl. So I was like buying a lot of like For Love and Lemons sort of clothes, like no shade, that stuff's really cute. It's just not actually who I am.
Yeah.
And like really trying to fit into that mold of what they wanted me to be still.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was like exploring different like aesthetics and different fashion. And that's when it started like snowballing. I was like, wait. For the first
Mm-hmm.
time ever, I am not going to be going to castings.
Yeah.
And this was like the first time since I started modeling. So like right after university that I was like, wait, my whole day isn't going to be castings or my whole day isn't emails for models and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I can just like do whatever. I started taking like self photography just for fun. And I started like trying on different outfits, styling different things. And at the same time, like dopamine dressing and like super colorful dressing became like really very popular on social media. And I was like, wait, this is so fun. This
Yeah.
is so fun. Like I've never worn color before.
Mm-hmm.
Modeling, I couldn't have my nails done. I couldn't wear like the model uniform was like form fitting all black, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't I couldn't get my nails done, couldn't choose my hair color, anything. And so like for the first time I was like, wait, I can start wearing outfits. I can buy
Mm-hmm.
clothes that aren't like part of the model uniform and I got really into like dopamine dressing and maximalism and thought this was super fun. And then as the pandemic started like lifting, I my agent started calling me to do jobs again. And this is like sort of funny. Um,
Yeah.
that this is what like
Like,
was
wait a minute.
the like straw that broke the what is it, the camel's back or whatever. I hate
Yeah.
saying that. Like, why would we want to break a camel's back? But this was like my final straw, let's say.
Mhm.
I remember once my agent called me and I just got my nails done and I had like really fun prints and they were super colorful and I was so excited about them. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have a job tomorrow. Like it's for like the cover of a romance novel. And I was like, I don't want to fucking do that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I just got my nails done. They're like, well, yeah, you're going to have to paint over them, like, or go get them removed and, like, paint over them in just, like, skin tone. And I was like, no, no, I don't want to do that. And so I told him, I was like, yeah, I don't think, like, I can actually do this job tomorrow sort of thing. And then I, like, emailed them a couple days later and was like, I love you guys, but I don't want to do this anymore. Like, if I never have to measure my body ever again, like, I'll be super happy. If I never have to take a digital or Polaroid and have feedback from you guys that I look tired or something ever again, like I could die a happy woman. Like I just don't want to do this anymore. And they were super, super sweet and they like really got it because my agent here especially used to be a model. So she like really understood as well. And at first they were like, are you sure? Like, you know, you just want to do influencer stuff? And I was like, yeah, I think that's what I want to do. Like, in the pandemic too, I started posting on TikTok. My little brother's girlfriend told me about TikTok. I posted one TikTok. It like went viral instantly because my husband's an actor, so I did like a trend with him. So it was like a trend where people were like showing someone in their family or like a family member who was famous, and then you were like, yes, and so I was just like, I just did one of those, and it went like viral, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with this, and then I just didn't post for like weeks or like I don't even know, maybe even months. I was like, I don't know what to do with this, and then I had a friend be like, you should be posting on TikTok. Like you have a ton of followers, and you posted one video. I was like, I don't know how to do TikTok. I'm super confused by it. Like, what do I do? They're like, just find trending sounds and make videos based on trending sounds. And so I just started doing that. But all of my videos at first were about like being married because my identity at the time was like, I'm a model. That didn't exist because modeling didn't exist. So I was like, well, what's my other identity? And I was like, I'm married. Like, I don't know, right? So it's so funny how modeling can like really wipe your identity away because it's such an all-encompassing job. So like even when you're not working, you have to think about like your skin, your measurements, your hair, your nails. Like you're constantly thinking about modeling. You're constantly thinking about work. Like everything you do, you're like, okay, can I eat this? Can I go out that night? Like everything revolves around modeling. And so for me at least, it like really wiped my personality clean, like Windexed it like crazy. And I was like, before modeling, I had a very vibrant personality. Not to say that I had no personality at all, but it, like all my interests once I started modeling as a career became about modeling. Like I never exercised. I became interested in like diet and exercise. Like nutrition was like a hobby for me and had never been before, you know, and it is not now. At the time, I was like, oh, what are the things that are interesting about me? Modeling and that I'm married to someone who's an actor. So I just ran with that. And then as the pandemic started lifting and I started like playing with my fashion, I left modeling for good. I hope that all girls get to go through that period where they're trying new hair, they're trying new makeup, they're trying new outfits, they're figuring out who they are. I just went through it super fucking late because
Well,
mine was
yeah,
so stunted by a career that keeps you so
totally.
pigeonholed.
Yeah, because I mean, when you're modeling, like you're supposed to be like a chameleon, you know, like you're
Yes.
gonna be turned into this artistic director's vision, this person. So like you do have to be kind of like a blank slate, you know, like you can't really have any self-expression, you know, like in terms of like your physical appearance. So I love that COVID was kind of this like you get something like nails, you know, and then you get tested with the like, oh, you have a shoot tomorrow. It's like you're like having to choose, like you're literally at a crossroads, you know, you're like,
Yeah.
do I just do what's comfortable or do I just fucking go for it? And this is like a hell yeah, you know, like
Yeah, and it was like, it's sad to say this a little bit, but I think I needed the external validation from other people online to be like, wait, I love your nails. Nails are cool. And to validate that, like, choosing something like self expression was more important than choosing a career that I had always had, and that like everybody was like, "Oh, that's Rebecca. Rebecca's the model," right? Like that was my identity, and it had become my identity for everyone because that was
yeah.
just what it did, what it was, what it did. Like, I remember when I quit modeling, I called my mom. I was so nervous to tell her that I quit, and I don't know why, but my mom was like, "Good. I'm glad you quit. Like,
Aw.
there's so much. It was so unhealthy about that for you." And I was like, oh, I don't know why I thought she was going to be like, oh, are you sure? Do you really want
Yeah.
to quit? But my mom was like, oh, great, good. Like, excited to see what you do next, sort of thing. And I was like, oh,
Oh.
yeah,
No, the validation's very important. And I think it's like, you know, you kind of have to trust yourself to be like, this is the next step. But then, like, having people like see you and be like, oh, that girl has cool nails. Oh, that's the girl with like the cool style. Like, it starts getting like reflected back to you. And you're like, oh, wait, I am cool. I can do this. Like, especially
yeah.
when you are like figuring it out later, there's like so many hurdles. I mean, like, thank God you figured it out because, like, how boring would it have been to been like the same person your entire life. You know what I mean?
So boring and so limiting, but I think that that's what modeling agents in the modeling industry wants, right? Like
Mhm.
they need you as a young woman to think that this is the best version of you. This is, or not just a young woman, they do it to all models. I
Mhm.
think they need you to feel like this is the best thing you are ever going to do. This is the coolest thing you're ever going to do, or so many people wouldn't do it. If there wasn't that false illusion around it, it is fucking hard. And it is
Yeah.
not glamorous. There are moments of glamour, but
Mhm.
like, yo, you're wearing like a full head to toe Prada look on set, and then you go home and you can't afford to eat. So you're like, I'll eat an apple for dinner because my pocket money that my agent gives me isn't enough to actually like buy groceries and take the subway to all my castings. And like, the other way that those trips are set up is like, let's say you go to Milan for 3 months, all the money that they put towards you coming, you owe them. So you
Yeah.
start your contract in debt. So even if you're working a lot and you're shooting a lot, you might not make any money at the end of those 2 months because your debt might be insane. And
Yeah.
they
Is
put
it
you
still
in
like
these,
that?
yes, and they put
Do you
you in
still?
these shitty model apartments and charge you an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
And like the apartments are shitty. Like I've known girls who've had rats in their apartments. And you're
Yeah.
living with like 8 girls, 6 girls.
Yeah.
Like, and they're charging you an insane amount of money. And they're like, well, you have a cleaning lady that comes once a week. You're like, I could
Yeah.
do a
But
better
then,
job than her. But like, you want to pay me instead? Like, not always, obviously. Some of the model apartments I lived in were beautiful and we had like amazing people, but some of them were literally disgusting. Like my modeling apartment in Mexico City was big, but in one room there was 6 of us. And
oh,
it was an apartment with 4 bedrooms and there was 4 girls in another room, and then there was 2 guys in the front room and then 2 guys in the other front room. There was only 2 bathrooms.
oh my God. See, yeah, that's like the crazy part of fashion that like I mean, it happens across the industry because like what I'm hearing you say is like even though I wasn't in like a model house, like I went to school for fashion design and it was like I was working for free. I was like working and
All
then
the
working
time.
on top of work to work for free to get the clout, to get the thing. You know what I mean? And it's like this whole industry is really built on like the dream that you say. And it's like,
Absolutely. And the
it's just
passion.
very, yeah, it's very strange because, you know, it is beautiful and it is great. But I do think certain things like social media and like, you know, you doing things like finding this like new experience and expression, it's like it kind of gives you like more power
Yeah,
from that industry because like you're still in it and you're still working and doing your own stuff, but it's not like in their confined restrictions of like what you have to do and how you have to do it. You know, it gives you like your power back in a way.
1000%. And I think that like when I first started posting on social media, I was like, I want to be an influencer. Like, I want to be a girl who's like selling you skincare and selling you clothes and stuff like that, right? Like, I really wanted to be like a quote unquote influencer.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. So I'm not trying to like shade influencers. But then I quickly realized like this isn't creative for me. And like I'm missing the fashion creative industry that I was a part of. And the fashion creative industry that I'm a part of has basically told me that I don't get to participate in the way that I want to participate anymore. Like, you can't be a fashion girl who shoots just magazines anymore and shoots fun campaigns. Like, you have to be like the young mom and blonde and have these nails or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but I missed that fun part. And I started looking at content creators or influencers that I liked and their stuff. And I was like, oh, they make it more than just like, this is my skincare routine. And like, I still will do this is my skincare routine videos, right? But I'm like, oh, I can just do whatever the fuck I want with this. Like, this is my page. I literally own this page. No one, except for Instagram, can take shit down. If people are mad, they can be mad. Like, it's mine. This is mine. This is like my mood board. This is my whatever I want it to be sort of thing. And so I just started being like, well, why don't I do more like shoots, more like fun photo shoot styles? And it just sort of started to evolve into making it into something more than just an influencer and more than just like a space to sell people something or a space to, give people what they wanted from me or let people pigeonhole me into like, well, I like her husband. And so therefore I want to see what their life is like and I can access that through her. And at first I was really like, okay, well, that's what people want. So that's what I'll give them. Right. And like, I get it. But then I was like, oh, I feel like so not fulfilled doing that too. So it's been like a really big learning process. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, I still do some influencery stuff, but it's more like a creative process for me. And like when I'm doing shoots for Instagram, like I think of them as shoots. Like I mood board them. I have reference images. I have like or reference fashion shows and I'll get the clothes and then I'll get the idea and build out characters around them. And I kind of treat it more like I'm creative directing, I'm modeling, I'm styling, I'm doing hair and makeup. Like it is my vision 100%. Unless of course it's an ad that I'm working with other people. But I started taking all this stuff that I liked from modeling and all the stuff I missed from modeling and been like, but now it's mine. And nobody can call me like, tell me that my nose is too big or tell me that my hips are too big or like comment on my acne or whatever mean shit they want to say to me on set. Like nobody's going to say that shit to me because I'll block them.
Yeah, literally. And I think that comes across like really well on your page because if you look through, it's like, you might have like a makeup thing or something, or like, you're highlighting like a certain product or something, but it's like, then there's like a ton of photo shoots. And I honestly kind of like this new wave of like influencer, art director, creative kind of like combination because I want to see like, okay, I don't mind being like advertised to, right? Like, let's say you have like Crest toothpaste and they pay you to do like a thing. Like, I want to see like what your version of like Crest toothpaste would like be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I love about this like thing is like you own this like aesthetic, this vision point. And I think that like it's so cool to like see how it is morphing with like social media and branding and like marketing. And I think it's like the more of like your world you build, it's like easier to just plug things in and then they just kind of get covered in like, your vibe. And then you're like, oh, that makes total sense. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I loved the, like, what is it? Unhinged fashion girly vibe or, vibes.
Unhinged guides. I was thinking about it. I was like, what do? I don't know.
Unhinged fashion girly Unhinged
Unhinged
guy.
fashion girly guides.
Yeah. So let's talk about like fashion and like we
Yeah.
were talking a little bit about like your location and how that affects fashion and like any thoughts you have on like emerging designers. Like I know that's a broad thing, but we were, let's include people in the conversation we had a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on one of your points about how like this social media influencer or content
Mm,
creator, whatever you want to call them, in the creative direction side. I also love that because I think it democratizes fashion in a real way,
yeah.
right? Because fashion is not accessible for most people. Not just buying fashion, but working in fashion, participating in fashion. And when I say fashion, I'm not talking about personal style or shopping because I think there's been a really interesting distinction online recently of like there are fashion influencers and there are shopping influencers, and they
Oh
are
yeah.
not the same. Like
No.
they're different, and there's nothing wrong with being a shopping influencer, but that is not a fashion influencer. If a fashion influencer, I think from my POV, and all of us have our different POVs, right? Like there's no Webster dictionary of a fashion influencer, but a fashion influencer to me is someone who is engaging with fashion. And when I say fashion, I'm talking about clothing that is going down the runways
Mm,
or has gone down the runways in times past, who has fashion history knowledge, who has fashion knowledge, who is interested in and is engaging with fashion on a larger scale. And I think a shopping influencer is someone who loves personal style, they love clothes, they love I think they love fashion, but they don't maybe have access sometimes to fashion, or they're not
yeah.
interested in engaging in fashion on a more intellectual level. Like they love to shop and they will go to the mall or they'll go to stores and they have good personal style and they're like, this is how you can make this outfit from mall clothes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or they're thrift and they thrift like crazy and they're showing people how to thrift the perfect wardrobe. That's not a fashion influencer, that's a shopping influencer. And that's cool. I follow a lot of them because I'm like, oh yeah, show me your thrift haul. Like I want to
Yeah.
see.
It's almost like a consumer versus creator kind of energy,
100%. Yeah, 100%. That's yes, you simplified it and made it better. A lot of influencers, obviously, they're colleagues of mine now at this point.
Mhm.
And in Toronto, to go back to what you just said, I don't really know a lot of fashion influencers in Toronto.
Mhm.
I know a lot of shopping and personal style influencers, but I don't really know a lot of fashion influencers.
Mhm.
Maybe one.
Why do you think that is? Like location?
I think location, yes. I think that Canada isn't, when I say conservative, I'm not talking politically. I'm talking more just about maybe in our values and how we present. Um,
Mhm.
and this is a generalization too, because being Canadian is a very broad stroke. We're very, very multicultural, especially in places like Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver and our big cities. It's extremely multicultural. So, what being Canadian and having a Canadian identity means to me as someone who is white and whose family has been here for a very long time, I'm sure is not the same as someone who is a person of color or a new Canadian. Probably really different. So, this is
Mhm.
just from my POV, but like the Canadian identity I grew up with and was told was kind of our identity is like we don't brag. It's you have to. It's very like tight-lipped. We don't complain. We're very kind. We're very polite. And it's a little bit conservative and like, why would we brag? We'll just
Yeah.
say thank you. We'll say sorry. We'll say please. It's very polite. It's very like kind of British,
Mhm.
right? Because we are a Commonwealth country too. So it's very British. It's very like tight-lipped, sort of a little more conservative, and fashion isn't that.
Mhm.
Fashion is like antithetical to that. Fashion is loud, it's political, it has an opinion, it's not sorry. And so I think there's that. Um, Toronto in Canada in general is a very commercial market. There, we don't have big fashion houses from Canada, and if we do have big fashion designers like D Squared, they're Canadian. They're in Milan, and they're showing in Milan. So also to be a fashion creative here, or be a fashion creator or influencer, there are not a lot of clients for you. Our biggest brands are outdoor brands like Canada Goose, Moose Knuckles. Those would be, I think, our like biggest fashion forward brands here who have budgets to pay creatives, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of Canadian mall brands or like fashion brands. We have so many independent brands that nobody knows about. They're like very niche fashion. If you know, you know. If you're part of the scene, you know.
Hmm.
And it's so hard for them to like break it big because one of the issues with Canada is that because we are right beside the US, and this is like no shade. I have so many American friends. I love a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
America is much louder than us, though. And it's you guys have a lot more people as well. And so we ended up consuming a lot of American media. Why would we
Hmm.
have our own Vogue when Vogue America is right there? Literally,
Yeah.
New York is an hour flight away. It's right there, already done for us in the same language as us.
Yeah.
So we ended up not having a lot of our own media, like fashion media, I should say specifically. Even though Jeannie Baker is Canadian,
Hmm.
so like we've had so many big Canadian players in the fashion industry. We just haven't been able to like translate it and bring it here and create our own. It's very much like there's a glass ceiling sort of thing here where you have to leave to make it. So a lot of
Yeah.
our designers have left. And when I'm speaking about this, I'm also just speaking about English Canada because there is a very big distinction. In Quebec, it's a lot of French people, and there's a huge industry in Quebec for French fashion, for French music, for French TV, for French movies. I know so many creatives who are French who never have to leave Quebec. There are brands who only sell in Quebec, and French Canadians do an amazing job of supporting their own, of buying French, of seeing French movies, consuming French TV shows, consuming French music. I know people who are musicians who live in Ontario, who live in Toronto, which is English, and they will tour Quebec like 2 times a year, and that is and sell their music in Quebec, and they're French, and their music is French, and they make their full living doing that. But
Oh, wow.
there are very few English bands in Canada who could do that. I don't actually think there's any. Like all my friends who are in English Canadian bands, like they tour in Canada, yes, but they also tour in the US and they tour in
Mhm.
England and they'll tour in Europe. Like English Canada has a bit of a problem with buying our own stuff by supporting our music, our movies, our art. We have a bit of a disconnect with
Yeah.
that. And that was like Unhinged Fashion Girl Guide did not start as like a let me like focus on indie brands. Let me show Canadians how cool Canadians are. It didn't start like that at all. It just started like I was like, okay, it's getting winterish in Canada. Like it's getting fall, and
Yeah.
all the Canadian girlies know you need boots. You need good boots in Canada because it gets cold, it gets icy, there's a lot of snow sometimes, and it is so hard to find cool, cute winter boots that actually keep your feet warm. It's been like a struggle my entire life to have like
Yeah.
cool boots that look good that I'm not like my feet hurt, they're wet, they're cold, like I'm so uncomfortable, I just want to go home, like I hate this. So I made
Yeah.
an Unhinged Fashion Girl's Guide to winter boots and it popped off. It did really well. And I was like, wait, people really want my curation. They're interested in my curation. They're interested in me helping them find cool shit. And I'm chronically online because it's part of my job. So I'm like, I'm always on looking at stuff. So I was like, oh. everybody else has had this problem, and not just Canadians, right? Because there's a lot of snow in parts of America too. There's a lot of snow in parts of Europe. Like, a lot of people have had this issue of not being able to find cute winter boots. The unhinged fashion girly part of it, I was like, what am I? Like, how do I
Yeah.
describe me without saying Euthanasia's Guide or Rebecca
Yeah.
Joe's Guide? Because, like, I was like, that's not quite encompassing what this guide is, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not just me. Like, I'm not going to buy every single pair of these boots, right? Like, so I was like, oh, I'm an unhinged fashion girly, which is a TikTok phrase, right? Like the unhinged fashion girly aesthetic sort of thing. And I was like, that's who I am. Even if my aesthetic changes, that's who I am. Like, I'm absolutely an unhinged human. I'm a Scorpio who's neurodivergent. Like, I don't know if you can get more unhinged than that. And I've always been a fashion girly, even when I wasn't wearing like the most fashion forward clothes. Like, even when I wasn't buying like vintage Margiela, you know, or whatever it is that makes someone fashionable to someone. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is an unhinged fashion girl's guide to winter boots. And that's who this is for, too. It's for other girls or people, rather, because now I'm like, it's fashion baddies, but I'm a girl. So I'm going to call it unhinged fashion girl. But it's for all fashion people who are unhinged and want fashionable shit. So
Yeah.
the boots one just was like a great starting point, and I realized it popped off, and I was like, oh, people are interested in my curation. I should keep showing them stuff I like. And I've always been, you know, I told you I went to a deeply academic school, and I've always been like a little bit academically snobby. This is what happens when you pay a lot of money for a degree that you don't use. You're like, how can I use this? Oh, I'll use this to be a snob. Because like, why? I spent a lot of money, so I got to figure something out. But,
Yeah.
you know, it was really ingrained in me. And part of my sort of my political ideology is that like your dollar is the biggest way you make an impact. It's the biggest way that you vote in the world. Like, as much as our votes are important, your dollar is so important. So like, where you spend your money and where you put your money is so important. And for me, one of the places where I can really control that or try to control that is with clothes. And so I've always been someone who has tried to shop independent, who has tried to shop more sustainably. Obviously, there's been periods in my life where I didn't know how unsustainable Zara was. Right. And I was like, I'm broke. The only fucking thing I can afford is Zara. So I'm going to go to Zara, even though Zara's not that cheap. But you know what I mean? So I'm not like, I've never shopped unsustainably. I've never lived unsustainably. I'm not that girl. Like, that's also why I don't call myself a sustainable fashion girl, because there's no such thing as being 100% sustainable in the society we live in. So
No.
I'm just like, I try. And these are some of my options I try. Like, when I am curating the Unhinged Fashion Girls Guide, I look at the sustainability of a brand.
Yeah.
I look to see like, if the brand is bigger, are they owned by anyone? And if they are owned by anyone, like, what is that corporation like? So even when I was doing the boot guide, I was like, okay, like, where are these boots from? I included a ton of Canadian boots and Canadian designers, because I was like, that's something I know we do well.
Yeah.
Outerwear and boots, like winter clothes, Canadians, we've got that on lock. Like, Canada Goose,
Yeah.
Moose Knuckles, we're like, we know. We own this, okay?
And you like know what you need, like 100%.
Yeah, we're like, no, move aside. Have you heard about? Yeah, we're like,
Move aside.
Yeah, we're like, have you guys ever experienced -30? No?
Oh,
Okay, sit down, shut up. Like, Macage, for example, on their website, it's another Canadian outerwear brand. They do more than outerwear, but yeah, they have like a cold scale. So you can like put in like -30, and then like they'll show the jackets that are designed to keep you warm in -30. And -30 is a real, oh, this is in Celsius, by the way, sorry. Fahrenheit is not real. It is ridiculous.
I can't wait. -30 Celsius.
I'm like, Fahrenheit? Who uses that? Only America, right? I don't know any other country that uses Fahrenheit.
-30.
Yeah,
Okay, so like -22.
That's how cold it can get.
I
And
don't even, I couldn't even, I can't even fathom. I think the coldest I've been is like -3 or something. Like, I don't even know how cold. And I was dying this winter in like 20,
okay,
you
yeah.
know?
So when I first got to, I've lived in Montreal and I've lived in Toronto in Canada. And when I was like first got to Montreal one winter, I was the news was on in the car or whatever, and it was like it's as cold in Montreal as it is on Mars today. And I was like,
That's insane.
yeah, that's when I bought my first parka. So
Yeah.
I had never owned a parka before then because I was like, these are ugly. I'm not doing this. And then I was like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
We're getting a
No, I
parka.
mean, it's fair because, like, for instance, you have like a need of like wanting to look like unhinged fashion girly. It's like, okay, whatever, like TikTok, but like people sometimes need that, like, that description to like be like, okay, like, I know, like, it's like when we think of like scene girl or something, like,
Yeah,
what that looks like, preppy girl, what that looks like. It's like, I don't even know what the terms are for some of these like fast TikTok trends. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like unhinged fashion girly. It's like, okay, I know what that means. It means maximalism. It means fashion. It means like colorful textures. Like, I get it. That there's some description because
yes.
a
There's
lot of people can fit into that, but
right, right. And like I don't even know if I think of my at the time I was definitely more maximalist than I am I would say right now. And
mhm,
so for me, I think of an unhinged fashion girl, even though you're right, like that is what TikTok was deeming an unhinged fashion girl. Like I just think of it as someone who loves fashion
mhm.
and loves looking and wants to look cool and wants to look unique and
Yes.
cares about unhinged fashion baddies to me are people who care about trying to buy independent brands, trying to buy sustainably led brands or brands who are making sustainability efforts, wants to look different, wants to look unique, and wants to engage in fashion in some way.
Mhm.
That to me is what an unhinged fashion girl is in my mind. But you're
I
right,
mean,
like the TikTok
same.
trend is like a maximalist, lots of textures, lots of
Yeah.
colors.
But it still kind of hits a lot of those like core values because like an unhinged like fashion girly, like she's not just gonna go to Zara. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
no.
she's gonna like pull out some like vintage designer piece, like maybe have something new, maybe like thrift something,
Yeah,
maybe even like make something. So it's
yeah,
like it still fits in like the vibe. And there's gonna be some kind of like thought process behind it, not just like I saw this in the mall or I saw this on TikTok. It's like intentional in a way. So it like it very much like makes sense to me. And I love like that we're in this new phase in fashion where like we don't have names for these things, like we don't have names
mm-hmm.
and we're just like e-girl doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? Because you're like, what is that
No.
even? Like,
Everybody's an
alt.
e-girl now.
Yeah, like what is alt? Like, like
No.
it's just interesting. So it's like it's nice to have parameters around like values because I find myself even someone who works in fashion, like sometimes like I don't want to do the work to like find like you said, like a winter boot. Like I'm just like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. But it's like
We're
you have your
tired.
thing. Yeah. And it's like, but and it's like, and So I have my people where I like look at their account and be like, okay, what are they wearing now? What's the thing? You know what I mean? Like, so people don't realize how important like influencers are. And I think they like to talk shit because they don't think it's like a real job. But like you are utilizing your experience to like share a cultivated experience to someone that they can like take part in and then therefore make their own experience. And
Yeah.
that's like really valuable, I think. And I think a lot of people just think, oh, I'm being sold to. It's like you're being sold to every day regardless. You know what I
Like,
mean?
do
Like you
you
drive down the
listen to the
streets, listen
radio?
to the
Do you
radio,
watch TV? You're being
yeah, like
told
you're
to.
being like I live in New York, like I just go on the subway and look at other people I'm being sold to, like
That
it's so
though,
crazy.
like there's no. I was thinking about this yesterday because I was in the airport. In the airport I was in had a lot of art on the walls, and I was like, God, it is so nice to see art in
Mm,
public spaces. Even if we
yeah.
think the art is bad, it is so nice to see art because there's ads too. But it is so nice to have public space art because we are so used to just having public space ads
Yeah. No, that's
or
so
private
true.
space ads. And I'm like, you know what's really nice? Art. you know?
Yeah.
But we're always being sold to, you're so right. I understand also though why influencers do get a bad rap, because there are a lot of, like any field, by the way, this is not just in influencing, this is in every single job. There are
Hmm.
people who do not have values
Hmm.
and who are willing to do anything for a dollar. And like, you know what? Get the bag, sis. But like, you have to understand that if you aren't genuine, especially on the internet, people will find out. People will
Yeah.
find out. And I also very much like, if you see an influencer freaking out on someone on the internet, like sometimes it's unforgivable because you're just like, oh, you're a monster, and I can tell you're a monster. But I also am like, everyone gets to have a bad day. Like, we have no idea what happened to that person before that very public freak out or that very public meltdown. Like, you don't know if her
Mhm.
dog just died,
Oh, of course.
but then, we do see a lot of influencers behaving extremely badly, or influencers lying about products they use or even how they shoot. Like, remember when they thought America was losing TikTok, and then there was this big trend of American influencers like telling their truth a little bit, and I remember seeing like some beauty influencers being like, oh yeah, I use a filter every single time.
Yeah.
Or like, there was one girl who used, I don't even know the name, but like put a ton of foundation on, and people always clowned her for it. And then she like revealed that she actually wiped a lot of that foundation off.
Oh, shit.
Stuff like that. And I was like, you
Yeah.
could waterboard that information out of me.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. Like, a lot of stuff that people share on the internet, I'm like, you could not waterboard that out of me. Like, why are you telling this story? Like, but then I also realized it's because America has a creator fund and Canada doesn't. So I'm like, oh yeah, if I'm gonna get paid to tell my most embarrassing story, I might tell it. I might tell it, but I'm not
Mm.
gonna get paid to tell my most embarrassing story on TikTok because I'm in Canada. I don't get money for
Oh.
views. So I'm like, you gonna waterboard that out of me, babes. You could not
Yeah, yeah,
waterboard
yeah.
that
Like
out.
that's you can save with me. I don't need the stream count.
No, but I understand why influencers do get a bad rap, but I agree with you that like, that's on you though, because if you're the one who is following and engaging and sharing that person's content, you have given that person the power. There's a reason why those people exist on the internet, and it is because consumers like them, and
Yeah.
consumers of social media or the products or whatever it is, because we're all consumers, are engaging with that
Yeah.
content, and that's what helps those people have the power that they have. You as a consumer are giving them that power. So I think what people really need to do is, instead of complaining about influencers and their bad behavior and their lying on the internet, is to curate their feeds a little more selectively and a little more intentionally. And don't
Yeah.
tell me, oh, I can't find influencers who aren't intentional, because I could tell you 20 right now. Like, I could tell you, like, even if I'm not real life friends with them, I'm colleagues with them, like, I can tell you people who I think are like extremely genuine and I know are like not bullshitting, and that's how they actually dress when you see them out, when it's casual, like they genuinely like the shit that they're selling to you. There's
Yeah.
those exist, like, and there's alternative people on there too. Like, those people exist. Like, yes, you might get less of their life,
Yeah.
you might get less of like a daily like good morning sort of vibe, but like, there's a ton of interesting people. It was like this conversation about how none of the New York influencers are interesting, and I was like, that's because that's who you follow. Do you know that like
Mm.
the white blonde girlies are not the only influencers in New York? Like,
Oh, yeah.
like,
I was like, wait, I know a couple that are like really nice and
and really cool and really interesting, right?
yeah.
I was like, when people are complaining about those girls being not New York and not being interesting and not being cool, it's like, well, you're following them.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah,
so
it's
many.
so bizarre to me. Like I had one video go viral and I got to experience like the hate and like I don't care. I was talking about my mom's fur coat and it like it's controversial because it's fur. I'm like talking and I call it like minx because I was like pluraling it and people are like it's mink not minx. I got all the hate, but like I don't really care. Like
You're like,
I don't
great,
care.
thank
So it's
you.
just like
It's me.
funny to me that people care so much. But I was like, oh, this is what it's like to kind of get hate on the internet. And I'm like, you're just promoting me
You're like,
by like
thank you.
making my video viral because it has a million comments and a million likes or whatever, you
A
know? And
million people telling me it's mink.
yeah, and like that I should die for like having a vintage fur, you know?
You're like, no. The one of the issues with the internet is there's no gray zone. It's very like black and white, and that's not how real life is.
No. And it's yeah, and yeah, you're just literally giving people the power.
The reason why a lot of influencers aren't showing you independent brands is
Oh,
because independent brands don't have budget. They're independent,
yes.
right? Like it's
Yeah.
usually a one person show or a small team, like small team. And if they're lucky, they have a publicist, right? Like
Yeah.
lucky, like if they somehow have enough money to hire a publicist, they also have a publicist. And like it's usually them, a publicist, and a few other people, if a few other people, right? So they don't have money to gift a lot of the times. They don't have money to just be like, I can give you a pair of shoes, I can give you a hat, I can give you multiple outfits.
Mhm.
So that you get so much, so few influencers can and will promote them, right? Because it's like, well, I need to make money, and if you can't even gift me something, how can I promote you?
Yeah.
And I get that because sometimes also the expectations from some people are like really, really high and not industry standards because there's also a difference between being a creative and being a business person, and to have a successful brand or even be a successful influencer, be a successful creative at all, you have to learn some business or you have to have someone who knows and can help you guide you through the business side so you can just focus on the creative. And so
Oh,
I
totally.
know that sometimes I will have like requests from smaller brands and I have to like kind of mitigate the request, right? Like it's like you want XYZ or ABCDEFG, but like the cost of time and energy that will do is like not worth what I would get back from it. But I have such a love and passion for fashion, a passion for fashion. I'm a brat doll. I'm a brat.
Yeah.
That like I just want to highlight independent designers, period. I want to, part of also what the Unhinged Fashion Girl guides have become is Unhinged Fashion Girls guides to cool Canadian designers you might not know about. Because we do have big designers and we have mall stores, right? But like everybody knows about the mall stores because everybody's been to a mall. So everybody
Yeah.
who goes to a mall knows Aldo because Aldo's Canadian. Everybody who goes to a mall knows this, like there's quite a few like Canadian shoe brands or stores that are Canadian in the mall. But a lot of those stores aren't stocking Canadian brands unless they're a namesake brand. Like we have this, we have some namesake brands who have their own stores that stock their own stuff, right? But
Mhm.
there are so many small independent Canadian designers who have no stockists in Canada. Their stockists will be on like Appocene or Lunch Concept Store or, a,
Yeah.
what is it, APOC or APOC?
Oh,
Yeah, like, like even, like I love Essence. Essence is a Canadian company. It's a Montreal-based company, but they have no like initiative to have X amount of Canadian brands in stock. My
mm.
friend is the only Indigenous designer that they stock. They're a
Oh, wow.
Canadian company who only stocks one Indigenous designer.
That's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
Frankly, that's horrible because we have really talented Indigenous designers and there should be incentives to stock our own brands and to make platforms for independent and smaller Canadian brands. And so I was like, we just don't. I'm a complainer. I'm a contrarian. I love a good like gossip. I love to talk shit. Like my mom's from the east coast of Canada, and like in the east coast, like your currency is gossip. I'm not a malicious gossiper. I just love a gossip though. Like I love to have information. Like I love to have my finger on the pulse. Like I'm like, oh, like
Yes.
literally even gossip of like, oh, did you know she quit and started her own company? Oh, because she did. Isn't that cool? Like that
Yeah,
to
yeah.
me is also gossip, right? Even though it's more like
Totally.
information sharing.
Mhm.
But I love to complain and I I realized I was like, yo, you cannot complain about the fashion industry in Canada if you are not doing anything to try to make it better.
Yeah, 100%. And it kind of ties back into what you were saying earlier too about how it just consumes so much like American like media or like goods or like even like, wants to be curating towards like other things that aren't Canadian, that it's like they're not even like looking into where they're actually from. Because if they only have one person that represents like a wealth of designers, it's like what are you really doing? Like why are you even there in the first place? So
Yeah, yeah, and so like English Canada has a really hard time for whatever reason, like tapping into our own stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, we need resources for that, and we do have two magazines in English Canada that like are very. We have Fashion and we have Elle. Fashion
mhm,
is very good about having Canadian designers in their fashion spread, and very good about highlighting Canadian creatives and creative voices. Like their creative director George is amazing and he's doing a great job, and their stylists are doing a really good job of integrating Canadian pieces, and so I appreciate that so much, and they're really good at highlighting Canadian voices. But like one person, even though they're a big magazine that you can like buy in the supermarket, like we need more people doing that. We need more outlets doing that. We need more big retailers making sure that they're creating and curating Canadian content. And one of the beautiful things about Canada is we have a great grant system. So
yeah,
TVs and movies, albums, they can be funded by our government. And so it means that we have funding for art, and we have like amazing musicians that come out of Canada. We have amazing movies and TV shows that come out of Canada, and a lot of them are like partly government funded, and that's sick. There is no
yeah,
government funding for fashion, um,
mm,
which is a real bummer. And so it's like, okay,
yeah,
well, we're already on the back pedal because we don't have that funding that the other arts in Canada gets. And if we don't
yeah,
have traditional fashion media here in the same way that other countries, like maybe Australia does, because Australia has their own Vogue, for example. Australia is a great like comparison. It's a great mirror for Canada because
mm,
obviously they're not in proximity to any other English speaking countries, so they have done a great job of building out all of their own stuff. And Canada
yeah,
really needs to take, and I say English Canada, I should continue to say, really needs to take notes on that. Um, and it's not because American media isn't great. It's great.
yeah,
A lot of it is great. It's because it's not ours and it's not our identity. And it is so
yeah,
important to have your own and to have your own identity. And you need that to build industries, especially creative small industries like fashion. So I was like, I have to start highlighting this. And I started seeing when all the tariff stuff came up, a lot of creators sort of doing similar videos of like Canadian fashion guides. And even still, I was like, but none of you are highlighting ones that you can't just go to the mall and buy. Like,
yeah,
or like the big ones that everybody already knows about. Like,
yeah.
everybody knows about, like, we have this store and they have opened in New York now, Cotton, Kotn.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're Canadian and they're an amazing company. The quality is great. They do a lot of like sustainably led stuff. It's really cool.
Hmm.
Really great basics, really good bedding. But everybody knows about Cotton because Cotton has multiple physical stores. They have a
Yeah,
physical store in Toronto. They have a physical store in Montreal. They have a physical store in New York. Like people know about them. They have
yeah,
advertising budgets, like they're a great company, but people know about them. Like we don't need 100 new TikToks being like Canadian designers you don't know or Canadian stores you don't know. Cotton,
yeah,
because we
yeah,
know, like
yeah,
especially, you might not know if you live in a small town, but
yeah. But
most
still,
city people know what cotton is,
yeah, definitely. And
and
it's like, people always want to like, they do something like you're doing, they start getting a little hype and then they like want to move somewhere else. And I think like we're kind of struggling a little bit in New York because there's like, it's almost like not interesting to be like a New York person. Like, not that I don't think it's like not interesting, but like I think people are starting to get over like the hype place. Like maybe like back in COVID, you would get a follow because like you live in New York and like maybe people are curious. But I feel like you need to have so much more than that now. And I almost want to see like the fashion story of someone who lives like on a fucking farm in the middle of Texas and not see them like move to New York, but they'll still like show in like Fashion Week or something. You know what I mean? Like I'm just kind of like curious to like have people grow their own stories, like, and not have it to be supported by like a major city, which is like way harder to live in and grow in. I mean, it's like so much more harder to create in a larger city. And people who might not even have that opportunity, but like, you know, they could live at their mom's house and make a fashion collection. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm almost more curious to see that than like just some rich kid who's like connected, move to New York and like live a cool life. Like, I
Yeah,
hate to
because
sound
if
like
I
a
was a
hater.
rich kid, I would like, girl, you wouldn't even see me posting on social media. Like, you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
I grew up with the level of money some of those people grow up with, like, I'm like, why do you even want to work? Like, just go
Yeah.
like lay on a
Why are you
beach
posturing?
in like south of France or wherever you guys hang out now. Like, you know what I
I
mean?
know.
Like, you know, but also I applaud that they do want to do something that's cool.
For sure.
But like, um, I don't hate all Nepo babies, just to be clear. I like if you're actually doing something cool, I'm like jealous that it was so easy for you.
Oh,
But also if you're
100.
actually creative and actually interesting and have something real to show the world, then like I'm glad you're showing the world rather than doing nothing. But no, I know what you mean though. Like anyone with money can move to New York and live a dream.
Mhm.
And I'm jealous.
Me too. Me too.
But
I'm a hater.
yeah, I'm jealous and I like love that, but I agree with you that I find the stories of that are, I find the stories that aren't that far more interesting because we are so often told that story, right?
Yeah.
Like we're
Like you
so
need to be in the place to be successful, to be in fashion. And I think as the more things change and like, I mean, even like with myself, like, you know, I've been like fucking like grinding away trying to get into this industry and do all the things. And it's like, maybe I didn't need to like follow that path to get where I'm at. I mean, obviously I'm fine where I'm at, but it's like maybe another person doesn't need to do that to get the same level with like how we are with social media and like
that's
the
what I
world changing.
yeah,
It's just
that's what I love about social media because like I've had some not nice experiences on social media as well. Like especially as I stopped as I shifted from being someone's wife to being a woman with who's married with a husband. I got a lot of not happy positive feedback about that. Right. And that was really hard a lot of days, I won't lie, because it was like, oh, people just don't want to see me. They don't want to, like, they don't like me. And I was like,
yeah.
I like me. But, you know, I think that's what's so powerful about social media and why I still like social media and why I didn't exit social media is because it's so powerful in democratizing, or rather, we should say, it can be so powerful in democratizing industries and spaces, and it gives so many people an outlet and a voice and agency who wouldn't regularly have that. And I think it is especially powerful for women because I think on social media we have seen so many women build out careers that they could have never built out without access to the internet and a cell phone, and been given voices that they would have never had it not
100%.
been for the internet and for social media. I mean, like some of my favorite people who talk about fashion, like they got big on social media and they've been talking about fashion and they have like absurd amounts of fashion knowledge. Like you can feel in every post they make on every platform how knowledgeable and intelligent they are and how fashion is like the blood that runs through their bodies, and they were not working in fashion or not having success in fashion, and then they got on social media and then like you know they're at Paris Fashion Week and you're like
I know.
as they should be. And like
Yeah.
that's the stories I love. That's the stories I want to hear. Those are the people I want to see win. And they wouldn't have been winning without social media. They wouldn't especially people of color who do not have access to the fashion spaces before, because we know that fashion is like um, not the most diverse or equal industry.
Mhm.
And it has given so many people from backgrounds who wouldn't get to engage in fashion and participate in the way that they do now, those spaces. And those spaces are so desperately needed, especially more now than ever.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's like what I love about social media and like why I honestly reach out to so many people who are active on social media in the fashion realm is because it's such a like if you make it like it's like if you build it they'll come. We're all about the euphemisms or whatever today.
We're not working it.
But
No,
like
we're,
if
oh
you
my
like
God,
literally
no. You'll build it is Noah's Ark originally, right? And then it's also like the Field of Dreams. Do you remember that weird
yes.
movie? Oh my God.
Like straight up like if you build it like you will people will come. So it's like you literally like if you're like but it's nice to see like and this is why I do this is because first off we need more art. We've already had that conversation,
Hell
right?
yeah,
We
we
need more
do.
people creating, we need more people like in like adding something to value to like this world and like especially on something as vapid as like social media landscape, right?
Yes.
And so it's like if we're able to like motivate someone who maybe has that fashion wealth of knowledge, but they're like just an insider working as like a trend forecaster for WGSN or whatever the fuck. And they're like, oh, nobody will want to listen to me. Nobody will think I'm cool. Nobody think I'm this, like I'm this person that. It's like, no, like do it. Like show up for yourself and like activate that person in you that like deserves to be seen because like that's what I love. It feels like spiritual almost in a way. Like if you like believe in yourself, like you'll be rewarded. And I have another one coming. It's like fortune favors the bold or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's so I'm keeping all this in here by the way,
Hell
but
yeah.
it's so true. Like if you put yourself out there, like that's what's rewarded, especially in fashion because you could just grind your nose and be in the industry and work as a designer and then retire and nobody even knows who you are, you know? But like if you share your information and like share with people, it's like so exciting because it's like now you're a part of something. And I think that's like the vitality that like you were missing prior to like starting your social media.
Absolutely. Like social media has given me community in a way that I don't know I ever felt community before. When I first started doing content creation with the express idea of becoming an influencer, and I was doing like a lot of influencer events and stuff like that, I still wasn't really feeling community. I didn't feel like I fit in with the space or with the people, and it's not anything that they did. It was more like how I just felt in the space. I just felt like I'm not meant, like I don't look around and see myself, and
Yeah.
I still don't look around and see myself in a lot of those spaces. And one of the reasons is because I'm not 20.
Yeah.
So a lot of content creators and influencers are very young, and the reason is because they can still live with their parents, and they don't have to make money like straight out the gate. They are very like they're in a position where they're able to do this on the side or do this on the weekends or right or do it full time because they're able to have
Mhm.
someone who helps support them financially, right? I'm not saying like there's anything wrong with that either, by the way. And
No, I mean, I wish.
yeah,
I'm
but
just,
like
I'm just a jealous hater. I wish I was.
I'm just jealous.
I'm just
My
jealous.
mom
It's
was
okay.
like, they're just jealous moms, so I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't look around and see myself in a lot of spaces. Like a lot of times when I tell people my age at influencer or content creator, or even fashion week events, people are always like, no.
Yeah.
And they'll say things to me like, "Oh, well, like being in your 30s is the new 20s," and I'm like, I'm not ashamed of my age. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very happily my age. Like, I'm very happy that I'm like very happily. I have no age shame. Like, I don't lie about my age. Like, I could have just told all of you I was 24, and none of you would have batted an eye. You
Yeah.
know, like,
No, I love that.
but there are very few people my age in the space, even like fashion creatives. It's like a very youthful space. Not to say that I'm not youthful, but I'm not
Yeah.
in my 20s. I don't see a lot of people that would be considered alternative in the spaces I'm invited into. So, you don't see a lot of piercings, tattoos, different hair colors. There is a lack of representation in fashion. There's less so fashion, but like definitely in content creation. There's a huge lack of representation. People are rewarded for being similar in the space. I don't know if you saw this TikTok. I recently saw a TikTok where a girl showed up to an influencer event. I think it was in Copenhagen, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. And she was like, "You think you're being original with your outfit?" And she was wearing like jeans, I think a dress shirt and a trench coat, and like had a specific purse and ballerina flats. And then every single girl at the event was wearing the exact same outfit. Like, I'm not even kidding you. It looked like satire. It looked like a joke. Like, it looked like they were told to wear the same outfit and they all showed up in it. And so
that's just me on the train. I had a moment like that in real life where I was like,
you're like, no.
I was like, fuck. Because I used to be a punk. I used to have like crazy hair. I had half my head shaved, and like now I'm just like loving the long blonde hair. But I was like, I had a moment where I was like, oh my God, I'm fucking normal, And like,
I wouldn't call you normal. I mean, just like based on your nails and the fact that you still have your nose pierced and like your bleached butt blonde.
Yeah, I had 3. I took it out, but I was like, I have to have something,
I wouldn't call you normal. I wouldn't be like,
okay, thank you.
But like, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with dressing like that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look like other people. If that makes you comfortable, then I'm like so here for it. And when I'm talking about diversity in the content creator space, I'm not talking necessarily about like ethnic diversity. I'm talking about age diversity. There's very few people who are over 30 who are like attending these events. There's very few people who are alternative in their aesthetic at all. There's very few people who are visibly disabled or have, there's not a lot of people with any like
different abilities, like
physical abilities. Different abilities. Like there's very few people even who are in bigger bodies. So there's very few, like, even if there might be some mid-sized people at some events. Like there's very little body diversity. There's very little age diversity. There is very little trans representation. I don't know if I know a single trans creator in Toronto. That doesn't mean they don't exist. I've never met them at any events. And that's like sad to me. And maybe it's just because they don't exist and they don't put themselves out there, because I do have trans friends here, but I don't know any trans creators in Toronto. And that's
because the events kind of like in a weird way, like vouch for you. So it's like, if you're at the event, like someone has invited you or put you there or scheduled you to be there. So it's like, if you don't see that, then that's not what brands or PR people are like promoting or like looking for in terms of like representation. So it's like, that means that's not what mass media or like mass market, whatever, like mass viewers is going to see brands like supporting like different kinds of people, essentially, because that's like what they're picking from is the people at those events, like that's who they want to have people posting about on their social media. I mean, it's like a pretty basic strategy. So,
well, right, because you invite people to your events who you want to be aligned with your brand. And let me say, I feel like extremely lucky that so many brands and clients want me to be aligned with their brand, as someone who does not necessarily feel like I fit into what I see around me at those events, right? So I feel very lucky that I'm invited into those spaces, and I feel very lucky that I get to be someone who's not 20 in those spaces and who, might show up to the event with fake piercings glued all over my face and a t-shirt.
No, I love those.
And like, I might show up with like, oh man, this is a funny story. So I did a red carpet in Canada for our like Canadian Screen Awards, which are like, I guess Canadian Oscars would be the best way to like compare it. And I wore a Jean-Paul Gaultier bodysuit with like the full breasts,
Oh, I love those.
printed on it and like all the fake tattoos. And then I
Yeah.
had a Canadian designer's dress underneath because it's or sorry, over top because it's extremely see-through and knitted. And
Yeah.
afterwards at the after party, someone came up to me and told me that like everybody in, I don't know, like the control room, the room where they're like figuring out, oh, do we have to cut this? It's on
Oh,
our
yeah.
TV sort of thing, right? All of them were like having this huge debate about whether they had to censor the nipples on my shirt because they were like, are they her real nipples? Is it? And someone was like, no, it's a top. It's not her nipples. Like it's a print of breast. And they were like, wait, do we have to censor them? But like, you know, so there was like this big conversation about my printed nipples in the control room of that, and I was like, this is epic.
Yeah.
This is hilarious. But you know, I feel lucky that I'm invited into spaces that are brand spaces, and I might show up wearing something like that, and I'm still invited in because
Mhm.
I know that there are a lot of things about me that are not necessarily brand friendly.
Mhm.
So I feel lucky that I'm still invited into those spaces and that brands want to work with me and they're like,
Mhm.
okay, we'll take a chance on this little freak. And
Yeah.
that being said, like to me, compared to my friends and other people I know and other people I follow, I don't think I'm edgy at all. I feel like I have edge to me, but I wouldn't call myself edgy. But
Mhm.
here I'm considered very edgy. That's feedback I get often is that I'm very edgy and they want it to make sure that it's not too edgy where I would isolate clients.
Oh, wow. It's such a weird world. Like when you get into the back end of it, it's like, because like, yeah, like it's like, I, I wouldn't be like, oh, that girl's like an edge lord. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, but for someone like them, they're like, I mean, her hair's red, and you're like, so like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's very like different
Yeah,
in that whole scheme of things. But like I said, it does give you more power because then you can, like if someone's coming to you, they've looked at your account. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
They
They don't
know
just
what they're
invite
getting.
you without like researching. I know that because
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who work in PR, like a lot of friends, and they watch
Hmm.
people's stories. They need to know if you say something that is inappropriate
Oh yeah.
because
Of
like
course.
they have to know that they feel confident and comfortable that you haven't said anything inappropriate or done anything inappropriate and that they feel like you won't either and embarrassed that they've been aligned with you.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, that's like really, it's just a lot of things that go into like the decision. And I think like a lot of people get like kind of bummed sometimes when they don't like align with things and, you know, they maybe be like, oh, like people don't like me enough because I'm not like digestible. It's like such a fine line of like being like truly authentic and unique and expressive, but then also being like a little digestible. And like that's kind of the main thread I like see a lot of people struggling with.
It's hard because I struggle with it too. I struggle with it all the time. Like I love to swear. Um,
Oh yeah.
my family is from the East Coast. Like it's a lot of
Yeah.
slang. It's a lot of like people always joke. Like I always tell people that I'm like white trash or like a redneck.
Yeah.
Because I'm from a super small town and grew up in the country, and my
Hmm.
families are from really small towns, like in Newfoundland, where my mom's from. It's like everyone is not a redneck, just to be clear there, or like white trash. We're not at all like that. We're like a lot of people there are very country. My mom is from a community that's like I think like less than 500 people,
Oh wow. Okay.
So like
Yeah, it's small town vibes for
yeah, I'm
sure.
very small town, and when I tell people that, they never believe me and they like laugh about it, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, let me explain. I
Yeah.
grew up in the country, like
Yeah. Like we would
like
hang out at a Walmart on a Friday
we
night
didn't
in
even
the
have a
parking
Walmart. We didn't even have
Well,
a
that was my
Walmart.
vibe. I grew up in like Florida, so we would go hang out at the Walmart parking lot, like
Yeah, so like
and like ditches. Like we'd go to the ditch.
when I tell
Like
people go like bush parties, and they're like, "What's a bush party?" I'm like, "Well, we didn't have anywhere to go, so we would like go to
yeah,
the forest, and we have like a fire, and it's a
yeah,
party in the
fires.
bush." And they're like,
Oh my God. Like four-wheeling? Did you ever go mudding?
Hell yeah, brother. Like, four-wheeling. Yes, I loved four-wheeling. I still do. It's fun. Like ski-dooing. Like, I went to a school where like every year someone's dad would like fall through the ice and they'd be like, he's dead. And I would be like,
Oh my
oh, I'm sorry. Like it was like that level of sort of stuff where like my dad's snowmobile fell through the ice. So,
God.
which is
That's
horrible, but like people in the city don't have stories like that. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
So whenever I tell people that, people don't believe me, they almost think I'm like joking, and I'm like, I have to like tell them like examples, and they're always like, oh no, you really are like a small town girl. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm
Just
small
to do a
town.
video of you like walking around your small town, like in the looks, just to like get the reaction.
I should. This summer I'm going to Newfoundland. Even though I wasn't born there, I very much consider myself someone who's from there.
Hmm.
For my cousin's wedding, I should totally do like wear a very fashion outfit, and even like the main city there, like it's like a small town, the main city. So even walking around there, but like if I went to where my mom's family lives, there's nowhere to walk around. Like there's no
Like
downtown
on this
area.
small
There's no like
highway.
yeah, there's one little tiny supermarket, but it's not
Oh my
really a
god.
supermarket. Yeah, but every time I do go home, people are staring, and I'm always like,
Yeah. You're like, oh hey. That's what I used to do too. I used to be like, oh hi, and they're like, bless her heart.
no, and they'll say that back to me too. It's so funny because there's this saying like you'd say like to ask someone where they're from or like who their family is. You say who knit ya. People will be like who knit ya, and I'd be like, oh, I'm from this family, and they're like, oh my god, like I went to school with your cousin or something. Like it's that small. Like I was in a restaurant in the city, St. John's, and I like
Uh-huh.
got talking to the waiter because he had. I noticed like he was into fashion. I think he had like a cool earring or something. And then
Hmm.
we started talking, and for reference, where my mom was from was 3 hours away. And I was like, oh, are you like from around the Bay? Are you like a city? And he was like, no, I'm from around the Bay. And I was like, oh, where? He's like, I'm from Marystown. And Marystown is the biggest town beside where my mom is from. So a lot of people
Hmm.
from those like small communities will go there to get their groceries or whatever. And it's still like a half-hour drive. I was like, oh
Hmm.
my God, my mom's from there too. He's like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, I have a ton of cousins there. He went to high school with my cousins.
Oh my god.
He's like,
So
I love
small.
your cousin. I was like, I know, she's the best. Like, so it's like that. It's like that.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like how Iceland has to have like an app so that you don't date your cousin.
Oh my god.
It's like that level of
I
small.
didn't know that, but that makes
Yeah, it's like that level of small. So people never believe that I'm like from small towns and like my
yeah.
family is from like small towns because I think I have like pretty city girl energy. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've had like such a crazy life with like literally leaving and like traveling abroad and then like doing all these other things. So it's definitely like, like that vibe, I always put a Southern accent on and be like, oh, that girl's famous now. You know what I mean? Like she's lived a big life,
no, now, no. Honestly, I'm a country girl like through and through. So like I'm like I prefer to be in nature most of the time. But like
Mhm.
I also love the city. I love the convenience. I love the energy. I love being around other freaks and like seeing
Mhm.
creatives. And I love seeing young people doing cool stuff. I find them so inspiring. Like the young, like early 20s, like who just move here and they're building things and they're not
Yeah.
like jaded at all and they're excited. Like those are my favorite people to be around because they're just like they're so interesting and they're not afraid to do stuff and they're like pushing and they want to make stuff and I find that so inspiring and you get that in the city in a way you just don't in
Mhm.
the country. But yeah, I'm a small town girl.
For sure. What advice would you offer someone who's like looking to do what you do, like be a content creator?
Just do it. Like I remember at the beginning getting really in my head about like things just looking good. And
Hmm.
it's like it takes time and practice for anything to be good. So if you don't have a background in photography and you don't have a background in video editing, it's gonna look so bad at first. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, just put it out there. You can archive all your ugly old outfits and all your bad videos and all your photos where you're like, what was I thinking? That stuff can
Yeah.
all be archived, but you aren't going to get better. You're not going to learn until you're doing it. And like, that creative process of creating and doing stuff every day, even if it's not creating the thing that you want to create, is
Yeah.
so important. Like, it's so important. It's so important. When people are like, I'm not creative, I'm like, everyone's creative. Everyone is
Yeah.
infinitely creative. It doesn't mean creative doesn't mean that you make a painting every day. Creative doesn't mean that you make a groundbreaking fashion spread every single day or the new makeup look or a viral video every single day. That's not creative.
Yeah.
Like, that's not being creative, is just making and thinking and being and practicing. Like, sometimes my creativity is cooking.
Yeah.
And it's important also for creatives to not just do the thing they want to do. If you are a painter, it is so important for you to practice and exercise creativity in other ways. Like, if you
Yeah.
only paint and you're only getting inspiration from other painting, don't. Like, go look at other stuff. Like, put in music, go for a walk in nature. Like, being a creative is a constant everyday practice. Does that mean you are creating your art every day? No, it's about having a creative practice. And I think I have grown so much. Like, I've been doing social media for 3 years.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
wow.
really 3 years when I quit modeling. Like, I had started posting before that and trying before that, but really 3 years. There have been points where it was great, and there have been like really low points where it was horrible and I wanted to quit. And the thing is, though, like, when I look back at the stuff I made 3 years ago, I'm like, I'm not like, oh, groundbreaking. Like, I'm not like, these are great. I look at it with love because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that girl. Like, she was just finding herself. She was just learning things. She was just having fun. Like, I love
Hmm.
her. But do I look at those outfits and those clothes and be like, that's what I want to make?
Yeah.
No, no. I'm like, wow.
You have to start somewhere, which is like the biggest thing.
Right? Just do it. Like, there are so many people who just made a video with their opinion, and people were like, I resonate with this. I resonate with this.
Yeah.
And it empowers you. Like, I think if you use social media properly, if you use social media and you don't just stick to a formula that is created by someone else for success on social media, yes, you should use those formulas occasionally because you do have to pay your bills and you do have
Hmm.
to attract clients, of course, right? Um, I use trending audio and like do trend stuff all the time still because it's
Yeah.
fun.
It's fun.
It's
Yeah, I
fun
love
and it's
it.
fun to be silly goofy and it's fun to be cringe because then you're really truly free.
Yeah, fair.
But like, I don't only do that, and I've used that as a vehicle to push myself creatively and be more creative. And every year I feel so much growth from myself. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like now I'm super into this thing. Honestly, I also say beware of creators who never change because
Mhm.
that scares me. You should be changing. Everyone should
Yeah.
be changing. If you are like an artist and you consider yourself an artist and you want to make art, you should be changing. Your art should be changing. There should be growth. That doesn't mean, Georgia O'Keeffe is a bad painter because she continuously painted flowers that looked like vulvas. It just
Mhm.
means that like there should be growth. You should see change, even if they're minute changes. Like, people should change, their art should change. So
Yeah.
therefore, if you're a creator, your shit should get better. It should get more
Of
interesting.
course.
It should become more authentic, more
Yeah.
distilled, more.
You become more of yourself, you
Yeah, your
know?
brand will become more and more you. And without
Mhm.
that practice,
Mhm.
you'll never get there. Also,
Yeah.
learn about world building. This changed my world. I was taught about world building by my friend Erica, and it changed my world. Like, she had me build out an entire world for
Mm.
euthanasia. She was like, what does euthanasia's world look like? Like,
Oh.
visually, what do people learn in school? What do the houses look like? What does the nature look like? What kind of animals are there? Like, literally, what is your entire world? And I did like a whole
Mhm.
write up of like oh, the architecture is brutalist and mid-century modern, but there's a ton of nature everywhere. And at school, they learn really about how to be like their most creative, authentic selves. And their uniforms, there are no uniforms. Everyone just wears what they want. And, there's no, so I, like, you literally build it out. It was like in the most fun way ever. And I realized mine had so much to do with architecture and nature because I
Mhm.
love both of those things. And um, I was like, oh, those are things I should be incorporating more into my stuff because they are
Yeah.
obviously huge inspirations for me. And that is also when I started shifting to doing more creatives because I realized, oh, that stuff I actually like, I'm really drawn to. Or, even this year, I realized I was like, I really want to know more about fashion history.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I used to know so much about fashion history when I was young and I stopped learning about it. And now I'm like, I really want to start looking back and knowing more about fashion history and like being more knowledgeable on like, oh, that comes from this collection or whatever. As someone with a horrible memory, I'm trying, but I have been so inspired by the research aspects of that stuff and
Mhm.
watching YouTube video essays on it or watching YouTubes of old runways from designers I love has like
Oh
inspired
yeah.
so much of.
What's your favorite one?
Well, right now, I've been really inspired by Alexander McQueen's Boss show, which is where they were all in the box and it looked kind of like an
Love that one.
asylum. And then in the middle, at the end, a box opened and there was a fetish writer with a face mask on, and that's referential to a famous piece of art. And then there was moths everywhere, and I was like, oh, that show really. Even some of the fashion I didn't resonate with, but it was this show that I resonated with. And
Mhm.
recently, I've been introduced to this idea that it's not the product that necessarily matters; it's the feeling that is curated around the product. So one company could have this orange leather bag and another company could have this orange leather bag. Company A might shoot it like in a studio. You're not really picking up the vibe, you're not picking up a feeling. And company B, they could be identical bags, but company B shoots it at a beach and creates a whole vibe around it. And you're like, I need that bag. Even though you've already seen it on
Mhm.
company A, but they didn't create a feeling.
Totally.
And so I've been really interested in like curating a feeling around things. And I think Alexander McQueen did an amazing job at that, especially with that show. And I've always been really interested in this like intersection between nature and modernism. I mean, like I love brutalist architecture
Mhm.
and like Bauhaus, but I also love when a lot of nature is incorporated like
Mhm.
into those
I
spaces.
love
And
that
I was like,
too.
oh, this is that in a fashion show. And like I said, there
Mhm.
was a lot of clothes in the fashion show. I was like, these are just capris. Like, not that like
Mhm.
some of the pieces I resonated with a lot. Like, there's an entire dress made out of razor clam shells that I was like, oh. But
Yeah,
it was the feeling that he created.
totally. I know, and he was like such a master of that too. Like I think that's why he was like on top of the clothes and the construction. It was just like you always left feeling something. Like even if you're watching it on a YouTube video, like that is like art. And it was like so long ago, and I think like access to fashion, it's like it's closing a little bit because there's so many people now, there's so much interest, but like that's why it's so hard because it is art and it's like select people get to see it in real time and select people even get access to like the bill or any of the information behind the collection. So it's like an interesting time in fashion where you want to experience that and it's like not available or whatever. But yeah, no, I 100%, I love the feeling idea versus just like creating just to like create and put something out there versus like how do you like feel when you witness it, because I think that's real art, you know what I mean?
Yes, I'm an avid reader, and I read a book this summer, and I was like, I think I hate this book.
Hmm.
And then I was like, why do I think I hate this book? And I was like, I think I hate the main character. And I was like, do I hate the main character because all of the things I don't like about myself I see in her, and I worry that I'm like her?
Mm.
And I have thought about this
What
book
book?
so many times since. And I was like, I think I hate this book. And then, but
What
I keep
what book
thinking
was
about
it?
this book. And I was like, okay, so this is a great book because I have not stopped reflecting on whether I hate this book. And then
Hmm.
recently, a fashion writer friend of mine posted it on her Instagram stories as something she read in March. And I was like, I think I hated that book. And I was like,
Yeah.
she's like, have you ever read any of her other work? And I was like, no. And she's like, that's what her work does. Like, it creates this
Oh.
like extremely polarizing almost experience. And I
Mm.
was like, see, I always thought I hated that book so much. And then
Yeah.
now we're talking about it, and I'm like, but this has given me such an emotional response. And I have like not stopped thinking about it, where there's been, I think I've read like maybe 7 books already this year. And I keep a list in my phone. And unless I look at that list, I couldn't tell you, oh, yeah, I like that book. It was a fun read. But I haven't thought about most of those books since. Like there's 2 of them
Yeah.
I've thought about quite a lot,
It like
though.
stuck out. One thing I really love is Mucha Prada. She like, and this is cool for like a creative end. Not necessarily thinking of like the outer experience, but the more inner experience. Like she works with things that she like doesn't like. She'll like intentionally find something like a color, a fabric, a garment, like something, and she'll be like, I hate this. And then she'll be like, how do I design to make to love this? You know what I mean?
Oh, I have a great quote I have to look up in my phone because that reminds
Yeah.
me of it. But I heard Rick Owens say this recently, and I was like, that though.
Yeah,
And
it's really smart, and I think that's why her stuff is like so yummy. Like when I see a design, I'm just like, "Mm, that is perfect. You know, it's wearable, it's beautiful, it's functional. You know, and I
yeah,
think she does that really well.
I love I love her. Rick Owens said that his whole let me look so I'm not misquoting. He said
Yeah,
something along the lines of his whole life is a reaction to hostility. And as someone, Rick Owens was like a big punk, right? When he was youthful, and he didn't start fashion design until he was, I think, my age. Don't
yeah,
quote me on
I know,
that,
I
but
love
I
that.
believe that he was my age when he started. And
Yeah,
this reaction of his whole life being a reaction to hostility, and then Prada, like Michia, being like, I take things I don't like and I create with them, and I make them into something I like. I think that that's what like so I think that like fashion designers who I resonate with and design that I resonate with, it feels that you
hmm,
feel that it's not just like, oh, I think this is cool, I think this is fun. There feels like it is a reaction to hostility that they are having, or and like her vehemently hating, like let's say she makes a whole chartreuse collection because she hates the color chartreuse, like
yeah,
that's a reaction to hostility because that's her hostility that she feels towards that color that is creating a really big emotional response that she wants to work within. Because what's so powerful in art is when we have a really big emotional response. Like I can read a book and read the book and be like, I loved that book, I had such a fun time reading that, and never think about it again because it created no powerful emotional response in me. Does that mean it's a bad book? No. But then there's a book that I was like, I actually think I fucking hate this book because it created such a strong, powerful emotional response. But I'm thinking about this book that I might have hated for months and months later. I read the book in like December, like,
yeah,
and I'm still talking about it right now.
yeah.
So
It left a mark for sure.
right, and I think that that's what draws me to like certain collections over others is this feeling of like you can tell that the creative is like there's friction, there's hostility, there's almost like there's like an animosity between them and their creative process or them and their designs, and maybe not animosity, but hostility, friction, a powerful emotional response to what they're trying to do or what they're doing or what they're working within. Um, and that I think is what draws me to certain things, and that's what's most powerful to me. And like I think that that subversiveness that you have to like play on a line even as a content creator, where it's like being marketable but also being interesting and creating art and being true to yourself. I think fashion designers walk that line a lot as well, because a collection has to be sellable, they have to make money, they have to, especially if you're a big designer like Rick Owens or Prada, like you are backed by money. Like this is not just a brand anymore, this is a business. Like
Yeah,
you
exactly.
have to make sales. And so there is that friction that is in any artist who makes money from their art that makes the stakes so much higher. and causes so much friction inside of you, which can, I think, destroy a lot of people too, because it's like having to make money, having to live off of your art, having to make a client or investors happy while also having to be yourself and having to express yourself. And there's even just like that hostility that creates as a creator inside of you of like, am I being my pure creative self, or am I like catering to this? And like, where is that line, and how much can I rub up against that line? And I think that sometimes that ruins art, but sometimes it makes it that much more interesting, because it's about how you deal with that hostility, I guess.
No, 100%. And I love that too, because it's like, that's when something's really good. I think it hits both those things perfectly. That's it. That's it. That's it. And you know, when you have that moment, especially as a creative, you're putting together an outfit, you're like, this isn't working. And then you change one thing, you're like, it's
You're
done.
like,
We've
hell yeah,
completed it.
you know what? And sometimes this is like as simple as being like, my hair needs to go up.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I know. The whole time I'm looking at myself being like, should I have put my hair up? Like,
Yeah,
what's
I'm
I
not
gotta
even
get
that like,
roots done. I love
sure.
it.
Yeah.
So let's do I did a little this or that thing, because I think it's like fun to just ask people questions, really fire shot, like,
Okay.
and from what I've kind of picked up on their brand, and like see what you just answer.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just read these. And so, fashion or beauty content?
Fashion.
I wrote feels, but it's supposed to say heels or flats.
Heels, but not all heels.
Okay. Layers or one piece?
Layers.
Vintage or secondhand?
Lately, vintage. I
Okay.
mean, but like finding something secondhand is gives you a dopamine rush like nothing else. But lately, I just am like, I don't have that much time.
Yeah,
And so,
fair.
like, if I spend an hour, 2 hours thrifting and I find nothing, the,
Hmm.
the sadness is so overwhelming.
I
Because I'm
know, I
like,
fucking hate
I
it.
really could have used those 2 hours or whatever.
I know. Okay. Color or monochrome?
I feel like even when I wear a monochrome outfit, I have color because I have very bright hair.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been going way more monochrome, but like, I could never say no to color, I think. So that's,
Okay.
I
Sweet
don't
or
know.
sour?
Oh, both. The combo.
Okay. Small bag or big bag?
Big. I mean, like I like both. I have a lot of cute small clutches, but I'm like I have stuff. I got stuff.
Video or photo?
I like I think photo. I like shooting photos. I like creative directing photos more than video, but I love movies. I'm a huge cinephile. Like I love movies. And so to say that video I couldn't say, but I like personally I like shooting photos more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Baggy or tight?
Combo. Like one piece tight, one piece baggy. And it's so funny because I used to be like full baggy, and lately I've just been like, I guess, leaning into the sexiness of being a Scorpio, and I'm like tight. So it really also depends on the day. Like I've been really into big pants, tiny tops.
Yeah. Okay. And then unhinged girl or clean girl?
Unhinged. I think that we are very quickly seeing a push for more conservative values with appearance, with behavior in women, and it is deeply concerning to me. And I think that a lot of social media trends are a push towards more conservatism. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking even politically, I'm talking about how
No, yeah.
we're meant to live our lives, but I also am kind of talking about politically. I think that like a lot of these ideologies of where these trends come from, we really have to look at what the ideology behind that is. And that's not to say that you can't be a trad wife and be feminist, because you can. Feminism is for women to be able to do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of ideology behind those trends that is very scary to me. And that doesn't mean you can't love clean beauty and not be a fascist or not be, a conservative. You absolutely can. And you
Yeah.
can care about what you put in your body and all those things without having scary sort of thoughts. But
No, I see it.
I think that we really should reflect on those trends and see where they come from. I do not care for clean beauty. I think that perfectionism is like the death of creativity, and I think that clean beauty is about perfectionism. I think that like clean makeup and having the perfect eyebrows or whatever it is the death of creativity. I think messy. I think honestly, I think I have some of my best creative moments when I make a mistake. And
Yeah.
this no mistake culture, this culture of perfectionism, it just screams fascism to me in the
Yeah.
scariest ways.
No, it's true because I mean, I even see like, I'm in New York on the subway and I see like someone who's like dressing in their own style, but maybe it's not like Instagram or trendy or like fashionable. And I've even seen myself be like, oh, they're so like out of style. And I'm just like, Claire, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you were out of style like 2 years ago. Like, chill out. Like, but it's like this mindset. And I see a lot of the clean girl aesthetic kind of being like, Handmaiden's Tale, like wife vibe a little,
Yeah.
oh, like be like, like how it's like, come back and be like the most feminine, like these feminine women, like high value women, like things
And
that you
that
see on the
that in
internet.
itself is what the fuck is femininity?
Yeah.
I have had to really think about what is femininity to me and how much of what I felt like a lot of my life was considered feminine and to be feminine was packaged to me by men and sold to me by men. Thinness was a big thing. Having, or like thinness and not thinness in the same time because you had to be thin but have breasts and have a little bit of a hip. So you couldn't be too thin, and that was like the perfect feminine body. And the hair being a specific way, or your makeup being a specific way. And I was like, wait, how is all of this external stuff tied to femininity?
Yeah.
When men used to wear high heels, when men were the creators and the original wearers of high heels, like that is such femininity in itself, like gender. We all like I think we can all agree is a construct and it's something that we have socially created, right? And there are certain things like I have nieces, and so there are certain things that I see that they're like maybe they really legitimately are drawn to those things. Like one of my nieces is like obsessed with pink. She's obsessed with babies and baby
Mhm.
dolls, and my other one is like not at all. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but they're both girls, right? Like they are girls, like their sex is girls, and they currently identify as girls, both of them, right? But like, what is being a girl?
Yeah.
Because they're both of their experiences are real and genuine, right? Like her girlhood to my one niece is she loves hair, she loves makeup, and they're almost the same
Mhm.
age too. And then to the other one, she like wants to be a fire truck driver, and
Mhm.
she always identifies more with the male characters when we're like playing or watching TV and stuff like that. But like they're both girls and they're both experiencing girlhood and femininity. And so like I've really had to think a lot about this because I think like that feminine it's just a lot of internalized misogyny, and I think a lot of it has been like packaged and sold to women through media, through advertising, through an idea of what femininity is that has largely been created by men. Because even if we look at like who has controlled and still controls media, it's men. And even though women have more of a say now more than ever, like we aren't controlling that image of what being a woman is a lot of the time. I mean, like most of your country, women don't even have control over their reproductive rights at this point. So we need to like really think about like what is femininity, if it's a thing at all. And I'm not saying it is or isn't. I don't even like femininity to me is probably deeply different than to you, but I don't even think about what being feminine is ever unless someone I see a video about like
Yeah.
being like connecting to my deep femme or my high femme or whatever
Yeah.
people say, and I'm always like, this is red pill content. Like not interested, not interested, not interested,
Yeah.
not interested. Like this is creepy. Like I remember in the pandemic there was this like big trend of like connecting to your divine feminine energy. And I was like, oh, this is red pill content. Like this is how
Yeah.
so many people are going to enter into this like dark, scary place that the internet can spiral you down into. is through this
Yeah,
like
for sure.
divine femininity. There is some spirituality and like crystals and stuff like that. Also, red pill.
Red pill.
It's because
Oh
if
yeah.
you start talking to some of those people, they're like they still literally believe in QAnon.
Yeah. No, I mean I've like definitely I went to like massage school. I was like surrounded by hippies at one point. So it's like I've had my fair share of like, you know, cult-ish, like spiritual like behavior, like being around it. And there is some stuff that is a little like you have to really be able to think for yourself and like
Critically
see like,
think.
oh, because like you made a good point. I never really think about like what's feminine as a woman. Like I only think like, oh, I kind of want to dress a little more sexy tonight.
Yeah,
Or
because that's how
that's
I
the only thing I think.
feel.
Like, oh, this isn't as sexy as I wanted, you know? Like,
Yeah,
but sometimes I don't want to be like sexy, you know? But if I'm going out on a nice like date night, I'm like, and it's summertime, like, yeah, I want to dress sexy, you know? But that's
yeah.
the only time I like make an active decision to wear something maybe more feminine
I'm not
because
even
it's like
thinking about,
sexy.
yeah, we're not thinking, is it feminine? Or if I look like a girl,
Yeah.
I'm like, I look like a boy. Like,
Yeah.
clock
Yeah.
it. Like, I feel good. Like, I'm entering into that power that I'm like, this is making me feel. But, like, by the way, being sexy also, ooh, I'm like, ooh, I'm in that power. You know,
Yeah. You're like, damn,
there's no,
okay.
I think that, like, yeah, I don't know. I think that so much of that content, and like I said again, you can be all of those things and not be red pill. I just think that for a lot of people, those
Mhm.
those there's like a pipeline.
It's a gateway
Yeah,
for
it's like a
sure.
gateway drug. It's like what,
Especially like younger people when they're thinking like, oh, I need to be like this, I need to be in my feminine. And it's like there are aspects of feminine energy that I'm like when people talk about and I'm like, oh, for me that just sounds like when I'm not stressed out and I can be creative. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I'm like that just sounds like when I don't have the weight of the world on my shoulders and I'm just
yeah.
vibing. It has
Yeah, I'm
nothing
not like
to do.
PMSing and I'm like, oh, I have some time off to create, you know?
100%.
Literally.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm like, that has nothing to do with like gender
I know, right? Yeah,
like,
it's literally
at
just like
all.
having the space. I don't know. I'm just really excited for you. Like, my sister's really good at finding people on the internet, and she sends them to me, and then I'm
Oh,
like, I'm gonna put them on the podcast, you know? Because then I found your account like a minute ago, and then I was just like following ever since. I was like, oh, I love this. Like,
God, thank
and
you.
I don't know, just like the vibe. I feel like I pick up on vibes with people, and you know, the stories are usually great. And I think this season's gonna be like really good and you know, I know this will inspire our listeners are usually people like kind of more in the beginning because it comes from our networking night that we do. So I know it definitely will inspire someone to be like, you know what? Let me just take that photo or like do that thing.
I
You know what
want
I
them
mean?
to.
Like,
I want them to. Like, I feel like there's space for everyone, and we need more people who are like trying to just be themselves and like do something different. Like, we just need more of
yeah,
that in the world, especially now when like there's such a huge push towards like fascism and conformity,
it's
and
crazy.
it's really
I know they
scary.
can't take it away from you. And I think that's like,
They can't.
that's what,
They, I mean, they
and
can try, but like
yeah, they'd have to take away the internet, like, which is never going to happen.
no. And
Knock on wood,
even then, I'm
but
still gonna dress like how I want to dress. So over my
exactly.
dead body, basically.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I think this was like really great. Um, you know, I hope it's starting to get warm up there. Like,
It
is it
is.
warm
It's like
yet?
spring. It's raining right now, so
Okay. Yeah, it's like so shitty out. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I'm inside. But
I know. I'm like,
I
I'm
think
not
this will
leaving.
be, I know. I'm like in my, I got this, it's like this like intentionally distressed shirt, but it's so, I got it from the thrift store, but I'm like
No,
obsessed with it because I don't know. But
they're
yeah,
always good
so
thrift. Like
yeah,
yeah.
I love it. But yeah, I think you should do more unhinged girly shit. Like
I will. It's just like it's so hard sometimes to sit down because you're like, I have no makeup on today. I don't want to get up and do my
mhm.
makeup and like get ready and go
That's why
through.
my branding is like kind of no makeup sometimes
I love
because
that.
I'm like a 9 to 5er and like we're doing a podcast after work or you know what
That
I
makes
mean?
so much sense.
Like the brand has to work or else it'll not get done.
Truly, I got it. I think people really expect to see me do the most.
Oh, of
So I'm like,
course.
I
For
gotta,
you,
if I'm gonna
it
make
makes
a
sense.
video, if I don't do the most, the video just doesn't perform at all. So it's like, okay.
I feel.
But yeah,
Well, I appreciate your effort, and like this was so great, and I'm so happy that you loved it. That's like the only thing I care about.
no, I had a
But I think
blast.
it'll be like